Whether it's a hot time in Florida
or a rainy night in Georgia.
Looking for trouble?
It's the perfect time for the TCBCast, an unofficial Elvis fan podcast.
Oh, yes, sir. Good to see you go, Philip. This black fix bring you the hottest thing in the country, real hot and blue, coming to WHB in Memphis, Tennessee.
With your hosts, Justin Gosman and Gurdip Ladhar.
The TCBcast is on the air.
Welcome to TCBcast, an unofficial Elvis Presley fan podcast. I'm Justin Gosman.
And I'm Gurdip Ladhar.
Gurdip, how are you doing?
Doing good. Pretty relaxed. It's been a ho-hum week. Nothing too hectic. But yeah, good week. How about you?
It's been okay. I've been busy with the community theater. We've had rehearsals, but the show is going extremely well. I'm very comfortable with where we're at this point in the show. The cast has been working really hard. I think we're actually going to put on a really good show.
Excellent. A really big shoe.
Yeah. We're actually recording this after I just got done with an event at work that we typically wouldn't have in the middle of our schedule. So, it's been a busy week, but I'm here. Got my research done.
You're here.
And
yeah.
So this is a topic that we'll go back to the news in a moment. But the topic that we're talking about tonight, we've been planning on doing for quite some time now.
Yeah, 3-4 weeks, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. And we keep end up. Well, and then obviously we had some two-parters in there as well.
Yes.
That pushed it back even more.
Yes.
So hopefully people find our main topic enlightening. But before that, what did you have Elvis news-wise this week?
Nothing too much. The only one thing that I found and I told you about was Sammy Shore.
Yes.
Unfortunately passed away on April 18th at the age of 87.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Sammy Shore was a stand-up comedian.
Mm-hmm.
He opened for Elvis in 1969 and then also on and off until 72.
Mm-hmm.
He also co-founded the Comedy Store Club in Hollywood. In 1972. So probably that's why it kept him away from Elvis. But it was unfortunate to hear about that. But as we said, a lot of people who knew Elvis, sadly, they're passing away at this time. But he wasn't just known for Elvis. I mean, he was a pretty big comedian back in the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else do you know of him?
Not a whole lot. I'm not as familiar with his material, obviously, and I've seen video of some of Elvis's other opening acts over the years, stuff like the Imperials when they were his opening act. I've seen some of like the Sweet Inspirations from that era, but I haven't really seen much of the comedy acts that Elvis would have open for him, which is a shame. It's a shame that we don't have that as part of, because I mean, when you went to go see Elvis, yes, Elvis was the relevant part that everyone was going to see, but there was also additional content that you were getting when you went.
Yeah, later on he had like J.D. Sumner and those people.
The Stamps would perform, and yeah.
What do you think of the Stamps? I never asked you this. I think I brought him up once, J.D., and you were like rolling your eyes, kind of.
I mean, he's okay. I mean... He had a gimmick and he did it well.
Right.
And Elvis
that
certainly
low
liked.
Voice?
Yes, his world record holding voice.
Yeah, which I think got beaten.
Yeah, very recently too. For the longest time, he had the lowest note hit by a human being.
So. I wasn't a big fan of his vocal stylings. I mean, it strayed more toward was gospel country than what I usually like. So. Sammy Shore, actually father of Pauly Shore, which a lot of people might know, might not know, but the actor that was in a lot of those 90s comedies like Biodome and Encino Man, those classic hits. And what was the other one? Something about father, he goes out with some country guy's daughter or something. And they
son-in-law.
Son-in-law, that's it.
Yeah.
That was the other big one that I remember him from.
Yeah.
And I watched his movies. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and like judge his films because I watched them and I enjoyed them back in the day. So, there was another one where he's in the army. I can't remember that one. He was kind of like one of those Ernest type comedians.
Kind of, yeah.
Ernest does this, Ernest does that.
Yeah, kind of slapsticky, kind of, yeah. A little more
and
over
like,
the top.
I like those, like the Ernest, like Halloween and stuff.
Sure. So
anyway, how about you?
The one thing that I did, and I'm slowly working my way through it in the little bit of free time that I have outside of that. But I surprisingly had never actually read Elena Nash's book, The Colonel.
I have it, never read it.
So I've got it digitally. I picked it up on Amazon, and I'm gonna try to get through it. I'll just kind of read it bits and pieces here and there on my phone. I did see a couple rumors that there may be more. That we don't have a lot more firm information, but the alleged 1969 live Vegas box set apparently has popped up in a few places. German Amazon. There was a music website in Poland that had a listing for it. So. That might be indicative that there's something coming.
So Sony hasn't released anything recently, have they?
No, they haven't. It's really unusual.
What was their last... I mean, I guess the last release was that Lisa Marie, whatever, duet remix album.
Right, the Where No One Stands Alone. Yeah, and obviously the Searcher compilation as well.
Yeah, their last box set, I guess, was Boy from Tupelo?
No, I think there have been more recent box sets than that.
Has there?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't remember anything significant. No. Like one that has rare stuff in it.
Right. Yeah. No. There's definitely been a scarcity of
not including FTV.
Big releases that had a big marketing push behind it. I think the main one was in particular obviously The Searcher accompanying the film, and then Where No One Stands Alone, which both of which we reviewed last year. So, right. But I'm interested to see what news starts to trickle out in terms of releases this year. You would think that beyond doing the live 1969 stuff, that they would take the opportunity to do some of the 69 session stuff.
Yeah.
But maybe they are, and
these shows were in August, right?
Yes. Yeah. These are. Yeah.
You know what's so bizarre? All these things I've been reading, it all takes place in August of 69. Like these Charles Manson tape murders.
Yeah.
They're in August of 69. This new film by Tarantino, it takes place in August of 69. And then I was listening to Hotel California.
Yeah.
And they talking about 69. And I was like the Bryan Adams
Summer of 69. Yeah.
So it's really, really crazy that this one summer is in pop culture so much.
It was a milestone.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, I don't know if we'll probably decide on this as we get closer over the next few weeks, but I do definitely want to touch on, maybe do an album review from Elvis in Memphis, because we're coming up here real quick on its 50th anniversary.
Sure, that sounds great.
That would be fun.
We get another film review, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, did you have anything else in particular before we do trivia?
I do not think so. How about you? Anything?
Speaking of which, we actually did get some feedback. One of our listeners said that he actually thought it would be a good idea to do a head-to-head
trivia.
It seemed like people seemed to enjoy that on the couple episodes ago for them, one episode ago for us, since we did a
maybe
marathon.
Not a whole show, maybe just something that we did that time, half hour. So.
Sure. But yeah, he said it was nice for us to pit.
Now, do you think the questions were hard in hindsight?
I do think that they were a little tougher than usual.
Because if I did easy ones, I mean, you guys probably would have gotten them, no?
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's kind of the idea. Is we are supposed to, there's a balance. It has to be challenging, but it also has to be
maybe not as tough.
A good chance that we'll get it.
You got to admit that Back to the Future question was gold.
To be fair, that was good. So then, the other thing, there was another listener that wrote in by the name of David, and I just wanted to mention this. I told him that I would read this on air when I got the chance. But he said, your podcast really does go from strength to strength. I love playing along to the trivia section. I've introduced your podcast to family and friends, and now they are enjoying working through your back catalog. Once again, thanks, guys.
Nice. Wait a sec.
So-
So his family and friends, they also listen to Elvis?
Apparently.
How rare is that?
Yeah, a family of Elvis fans and Elvis
Because
listeners.
normally it's when people listen, it's probably like a one-off, like they're the only ones who find Elvis interesting. But it's kind of hard to meet a group of people listening to like Elvis. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's more common than normal. Like, how about you? Your group of friends and family listen to Elvis?
I mean, my mom listens to Elvis and had to a certain extent before I became a massive Elvis fan. Obviously, she listens to it more because I introduced her to more of his more obscure songs that, I thought would appeal to her. But aside from that, not really. Occasionally, I think my girlfriend throws on a playlist at work or something.
Do you think listening to Elvis is like a niche thing, a niched hobby?
I mean, no more than any other artist.
But there's like more popular artists nowadays, and you can obviously have a group of people that are interested in the same artist, like a modern, day artist. But
well, I will say this: I certainly, with as big as Elvis was in terms of phenomenon. Same with the Beatles, same with Michael Jackson's. You have these large discographies. You look at, the fact that Elvis radio exists, it on its own says something about the kind of experience that Elvis fans have listening to his music, and that can justify a long-running radio station does say something.
But what I'm saying is. Well, that's worldwide. I'm saying, how rare is it to find another Elvis fan in the wild, where like in your area, your contained area? Like if I was to go to the store and just like music store or whatever, I probably wouldn't find someone who listens to Elvis. It's probably rare.
I don't think it would necessarily be rare. I think it's just that people don't talk about it. And especially, and maybe this is just me, but the Elvis fans that I've found that I talk to and have the most meaningful conversations about Elvis's career, like you, like Ryan, like some of the other
these
friends.
are like people who are far away that are actually somehow you got in touch with them because you guys congregated to a website or whatever.
But that's the thing. We don't wear our Elvis on, our love of Elvis and his career and his music on our sleeves. That's not our identity. Well, no, but you don't go around dressing like Elvis. You don't wear Elvis clothes. You don't wear branded stuff even.
You don't have to dress or
no.
Whatever to be to show your love for it. I mean, I told you this already in like high school and college when I'd drive around with the windows down and a subwoofer in the back, I'd be blasting Elvis songs along with other things. So it was, I wasn't hiding it.
But but you have to admit that there are certain fans that do very much wear their fandom on their sleeve in terms of, sometimes literally, clothes with Elvis branding or, purses or, things like that. People, there are, and I've met them, fans of Elvis.
Wearing Elvis,
you're not letting me finish my thought.
You're talking about literally people wearing it on their sleeve.
Yes, but you're not letting me finish my thought. My thought, where I'm going with this, is you have Elvis fans that wear their fandom on the sleeve, and it becomes people. Maybe they have a large collection at home. Maybe their family knows that they like Elvis a whole lot. They buy them the gifts. They, whatever. But those are not the fans that I typically have the most meaningful conversations about Elvis with. The ones that I have the most meaningful conversations with about Elvis's music, career, his filmography, him as an actor, him as an entertainer all around, are the ones that are just normal people who just are themselves, who just happen to like Elvis, and you'd be surprised at how many of us are out there. We just don't show it, and we don't talk about it. I don't bring Elvis up to everyone, and that's like with me. I don't bring up Elvis in normal conversation with people. Like I don't even post
you don't force Elvis.
I don't even share our episodes of TCBcast on my personal Facebook.
Really? Yeah,
right.
I don't either. But I'm hardly ever on my personal.
But that's the thing, is you would think that with us having a show that I would, even amongst my friends and stuff, but that's how much of a side thing it is for me. Like, I mean, not that this is a side thing, but it's
the world doesn't revolve around it.
My identity isn't Elvis. My
Yeah.
appreciation of Elvis as a musician. And I think
I totally get that. I think I'm right with you on that.
Absolutely. So,
because it's not just Elvis that we appreciate. We appreciate many, many different artists.
Right, and so that leads right into today's topic,
which is an interesting topic.
Yeah, so we're back.
Look at that segue.
I know.
If you could see me clapping, I'd be clapping right now.
So
I'm holding the mic, but it's hard to hear it.
We're back in Professor Ladhar's classroom. He's taking us through.
When did I do my master's?
I don't know. It's a thing.
It's a ceremonial title.
But this is one of those things that, like, you want to dig into and I like doing these because they give us context and
yes.
we'll dig into this. But you like because it's something that fascinates you, and you like to dive into the history of the Billboard charts and not only obviously music, but also you like digging into box office and stuff like that on the film side.
I do, big time.
But
which you don't.
Like we've done in the past, we did an episode previously where we covered the Billboard chart. It was the week before Heartbreak Hotel hit.
We like to cover milestones,
yeah,
certain dates, not just a random week.
Yeah, and the idea for the episode is to focus on a point in Elvis's career where we're looking at what was the cultural landscape, the musical landscape that he was coming into or was about to drop something into. So, for instance, the previous episode that we did where we talked about that, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head which episode that was. I got my list.
It was last year sometime.
Episode 49, the March 1956 Billboard Top 10. And the idea was, okay, before Elvis's Heartbreak Hotel drops, what was out there on the charts? And so we're kind of doing something similar this time. Tell the listeners where we're looking at this week.
So this week
we're jumping in our DeLorean.
Yes, way back machine. So this week we're going to look at March 28th, 1960. And this is when Elvis has just come back from Germany and he has recorded his first session, but this is the week right before Stuck on You hits the charts. So we're going to give everyone, a glimpse into what the music scene was like right before Elvis came back with Stuck on You and how it might have influenced him. The way, what songs he did, and, what the culture was like, the context of everything.
Absolutely. And I hope that people find it enlightening because I think, and we'll get into this later, I can imagine, but there's definitely been a trend over the years of criticizing Elvis for stepping away from rock and roll in the 60s. But I don't think a lot of people realize the context of when Elvis came back from the Army, where music was at and where popular music was at.
There was definitely a shift.
There was.
But the shift was happening before that. It was actually happening in the late 50s. So the last charting hit for Elvis was Big Hunk of Love, which went number one on August 10th, 1959. And it stayed on the charts for 13 weeks. And by the fall, it was gone. And Elvis wasn't really a presence on the charts until Stuck on You hit in April of 1960. But the music scene was shifting, less pure rock and roll and more of that softer pop rock. No real hard edges. And I've noticed a lot of people say February of 1959 was the big shift because obviously it was the day the music died. But it was really heading that way anyway.
Yeah.
If you look at 59, some of the number one songs you can see the shift. Like, okay, if I just give you some examples of the number one songs of 1959, the Chipmunk song, Venus, Come Softly to Me, Happy Organ, Mr. Blue, those are all stuff that was happening in the 60s. Those are all soft, like bubblegum type. I mean, there was some like pure rock R&B tracks like Stagger Lee, Kansas City, but by and large, and even Buddy Holly with his last few hits, he was headed in that direction.
Yep.
Like it was not hard edge at all.
No.
Like if you listen to It Doesn't Matter Anymore, it's very light. I mean the song actually can be a little heavy, but the actual music and accompaniment it wasn't very hard edge at all.
There you going, baby, here am I. Well, you left me here so I could sit and cry. Well, golly gee, what have you done to me? Well, I guess it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, it definitely says something, even because we had talked about it a little bit last year, but the fact that so much of his latter-day stuff that he recorded before he died works so well in the context of the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra album that came out last year of his music. Because you go back and you listen to that CD, and a lot of his rock and roll stuff doesn't quite lend itself as well, the harder rock and roll type stuff, but that stuff that he was doing just before he died really works to the advantage of kind of a pop, easy listening sound.
Like that song Every Day, that totally fits in.
Oh, absolutely.
60s. Every day it's a getting closer, going faster than a roller coaster. Love like yours will surely come my way. Hey, hey, hey. Every day it's a getting faster. Everyone said go and ask her. Love like yours will surely come my way. Hey, hey, hey.
And the other thing that's worth just mentioning offhand is that oftentimes also gets left out of the conversation is the payola scandals.
Yes, 100%.
Which, for those of you who aren't aware, payola was essentially the government came after disc jockeys for taking bribes to play records.
And came after them hard.
Very hard, and among them, I mean, names like Alan Freed and Dick Clark got caught up in it. And what ended up happening was there was a shift where disc jockeys had the authority taken away from them to really decide programming, because that had been a large driver in not only the shift of getting rock and roll for teen culture, but also putting minority artists out there to
it was up to the disc
audiences.
jockey what gets played. It was up to their discretion.
Yep.
And that was taken away.
And so suddenly it was, radio station managers. Sometimes larger stations would have a musical director that would be in charge of programming. And of course, those were by and large more than likely to be white, middle-aged conservative men. Whose tastes were obviously going to lean much more towards pop, jazz, or if at all any type of rock and roll, it was going to be safe in terms of messaging.
And another thing, go ahead.
I was just about to say, we'll get to that. There's one song on here that just exemplifies that.
Because these musical directors were in charge of the music, nationwide, like through across Canada and America, it would essentially be the same top 20 songs. Whereas before, you would get, because of certain locations, a song would break out only in that location because a DJ liked it.
Yep.
And now you'll have, a few songs that are just local, but by and large, nationwide, it would be the same playlist for all music stations.
Absolutely.
And you miss that individuality of certain locations where certain songs would be popular. Chuck Berry would be more popular on the East Coast, and like Beach Boys would be more popular in California. But that was all gone.
It was gone, and times were a changing. It was 1960. So what are we going to do? Kind of like we did last time. I think we went down from 10 to 1.
Yeah,
and did the countdown.
This is quite the list.
It is a very interesting list.
You know what's weird? How similar this list is to our 1956 list.
It's pretty
think
crazy.
About it.
Yeah,
because you get some of the same artists too.
but the music itself is a little different.
A little.
So
some of it.
Up on number 10 is "O Dio Mio" by Annette.
Oh Dio mio, I love him so.
Annette Funicello.
So if people don't know, Annette Funicello got famous from the Mickey Mouse Club. She was one of the. I didn't even watch the Mickey Mouse Club. I guess they had kids on that show, and they would like sing and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch it, like the old 50s?
I didn't really. I've seen snippets here and there.
Like they say their name at the beginning, like Annette, Justin, whatever. And then I don't know what they did. Like, did they sing on that show?
It was kind of a variety show. They would do acts. They would do songs. It was just a variety of skits and things like that. Yeah.
So Annette grew up on that show, and then she went on to those beach party films with Frankie Avalon. Mm-hmm. She was very heavily associated with Disney from the Mickey Mouse Club, and then the films as well. And I guess she got a singing career from that, which I read she wasn't very comfortable with. But yeah, the song is interesting. Oh Dio Mio means oh my goodness, or oh God in Italian.
Yeah.
It's very strange that this will be popular, but what do you think of it?
This is something my mom would call teeny bopper music.
Right.
And essentially all this concept of the song is that she's praying to God about how much she's longing for this guy. And that, hoping that God hear my prayer, make him care for me.
Oh, Dio mio, I love him so. Oh, Dio mio, please let him know how much I need him, how much I long for his love. Make him my love.
Which is so just...
It's a fluff piece.
It's a fluff piece.
It's not much there at all.
No. It's definitely, really, it's such a teenager thing to be like, God, the creator of the universe, will care about my little relationship.
Well, you can have like that kind of song, but have some meat on it. But this is just uninspired.
It's fluff.
It's very, very fluff. Fluffy. We were like, you were a point of, I guess you can call this like early 60s, what they had to offer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I guess you can call this singing. But to me, all she's doing is just saying words that are put in front of her, and she's saying them with very little emotion. Where's the heart? Like, she couldn't sell it. I don't know what. That's what I think. I don't know. Anyway, let's get on to number 9. Forever by the Little Dippers.
Kiss me, whisper sweetly that you love me forever.
Now, I have to laugh at that because their name is the Little Dippers. Now, a dipper is a slang term here. I don't know where else, probably Canada-wide, for a person who's just come off a boat or a plane from India. That's essentially like a slang term for people who are fresh off the boat here. And I guess it's just that's maybe just in the East Indian culture. So listening to Little Dippers is really funny to me.
Yeah, interesting. Cultural
You're like,
context.
I have no idea.
No, for me and for most people, dipper literally refers to like a ladle.
Right.
Which, I mean, and obviously the constellations, the Big Dipper and Little Dipper, represent, or they're made from stars to look like ladles. So that's obviously where they got the name from.
Right.
But
what do you think of it?
It's okay. It's nice. I've heard this before, but I don't remember where. They were.
I think I heard this too. Yeah.
They were a group of vocalists. It was 2 guys and 2 girls, And it's kind of a low-impact song, but what I thought was most fascinating about the composition was that the lyrics kind of don't matter. Like, there are words that they say, and it does make sense, but like it's almost more like the vocals themselves are part of the instrumentation, which kind of makes it interesting.
Well, when I first put it on, I was like, what is this, an instrumental?
Yeah.
And then finally they harmonize. I have to say, this tune is pretty relaxing. I'll give it that.
It is.
It sounds like something I would hear in the background of like an old romantic comedy, like maybe at a dinner scene.
Yes.
It's like a generic song you plug into the background. And it's, you know, what's funny was this is easy listening as you can get.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had this playing in the background at work, and I have to say it was pretty relaxing. You don't have to concentrate on it. It just plays in the background, and you're kind of calm.
No, it's good. I mean, that's.
I don't know if it's worthy of being number 9, but
on
like,
the Hot 100,
so
yes.
To say that, yeah, in the Hot 100, I'd put it like somewhere in like below the 50s, like over the 50s, whatever you want to say, from 100 to a 50, I'd put it. Yeah, so as you said, the Little Dippers were a backup group for Anita Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
And when they decided to release these tracks, they went under the pseudonym of Little Dippers. So that's a little background for them.
Very nice.
It's essentially like the Jordanaires if they came up with another name and they released songs by themselves.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So what's number 8?
Harbor Lights by the Platters, which we've kind of mentioned before on the show. We've never really featured it. So this is a good opportunity because I know that you've been itching to talk about this version.
I saw the harbor lights. They only told me we were parting. The same old harbor lights that once brought you to me. I watched the harbor.
Man, what a song.
It's great.
I think Tony Williams is still the lead here because I know he left the Platters in 1960.
Yeah.
We've all heard Elvis's version, but that was very early on, and he was still figuring out his vocal stylings.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, here we have Williams who knows exactly what his voice can do, and, man, does he do it well. Like, he doesn't need the other Platters chiming in on the background with their oohs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when he says, "Now I know lonely nights," you know he means, and he knows what those
You believe
are.
it.
You totally believe it. Like when we were talking about Annette and No Feeling, No Nothing, like she needs to listen to Tony Williams. And it's like, that's how you sing a song.
But you were on the ship and I was on the shore. Now I know lonely nights, for all the while my heart is whispering some other harbor lights will steal your love from me.
What did you think of the sound effects at the beginning and end of the song?
I didn't mind them. It sets the mood.
It does.
Tells exactly where you are, where the setting takes place.
It sets a scene. And one thing I wish actually more performers did this, even today. I like when performers, arrangers, musicians, songwriters remember that they work in an audio medium that's not just restricted to like the instrumentation and the vocals. Right. You can use sound effects and create a setting with your imagination when you hear it.
Are you saying we should take a cue from the Platters and before we start our podcast, we should have like the sound of a fire burning in a fireplace and two chairs pulling up in front of the fire.
I'm down with that. Yeah.
The sound of two people sitting on chairs and beginning to talk.
Yeah, we're setting the scene. We're setting the
There you
scene.
go.
And we'll even add like the little crackle of like here, and we're listening to this clip from this song. And
Yeah.
you hear the little needle go on the record.
Everyone listening, this is what you should picture. Me and Justin on rocking chairs in front of a fire with our smoking jackets and pipes in hand, talking with a weird, from the side of our mouths because we have our pipes in our mouths. And we have jackets with the elbow patches.
Yeah.
Well, at least I do because I'm the professor.
I'm just a student.
You have the
No, I'm sitting on the.
You have a student bag.
I'm sitting. Rather than sitting in the chair, I'm sitting on the floor
with your hands on your chin.
Yeah.
On a carpet, listening to me, passing my brandy to me. There you go. We set the stage of what people should think of while we're talking.
Exactly. So number 7, Jimmy Jones, Handyman.
Pick up what I'm putting down. Oh, baby, I'm your handyman. I'm not the kind that use a pencil or rule. I'm handy with the love and I'm no fool. I fix broken hearts, I know I really can.
This is a fun song. Very almost bordering on a novelty song.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Essentially what the song is, like, he's a handyman who can fix broken hearts rather than like a tradesman.
Yeah.
Jimmy Jones' voice, I think it's perfect for this. Like, it gets high when it needs to be, when he's like, come on, and then he kind of switches to like an R&B style. Jimmy had a doo-wop background and it totally shows.
Totally. So one thing, actually a couple things. One side note, before I get to my main point, this was co-written with Otis Blackwell. And I can totally hear his fingerprints all over this song. Mm-hmm. Like, you can almost imagine throwing on like an Elvis-esque guitar slap over this. Mm-hmm. I can totally, like you would hear on Paralyzed or Don't Be Cruel. But then vocally, he has an element where it's almost like a Sam Cooke type sound, like a kind of proto-soul.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, and not only
he gets that high note too.
Yeah, but then not only in terms of his vocal performance, but also like the song's structure sounds very similar to some of Sam's original works that he would have later on.
If your broken hearts need repair, I'm the man to see. I whisper sweet things to tell all your friends. They'll come running to me. I'm busy 24 hours a day. I fix broken hearts, I know I really can.
This is one of the better ones on this list that I really kind of found and that I enjoyed, and I was surprised that I had never really heard it before.
Yeah, this and the Platter song, I think, deserves, in my book, to be in the top 10.
Yeah, for sure.
More so than the others. Number 6, Baby, You Got What It Takes. Brooke Benton and Dina Washington.
Well, now it takes more than a robin to make the winter go, and it takes 2 lips of fire to melt away the snow.
Well, it takes 2 hearts of cooking to make a fire grow. And baby, you've got what it takes.
Okay, this is hands down my favorite on this whole list.
Ah, yes.
It's great.
as soon as I saw it was Brooke Benton, I was like, "Rainy Night in Georgia."
Yep.
So we know Elvis was a fan.
Oh, there's no doubt. And the thing about this song is it's a little bit of swing. There's a little bit of it harkening back to like the rockin' and rollin' R&B of like the late 40s, early 50s. But then Brooke Benton just brings that soul vocal.
I think he overpowers her. I think he's
much
better.
Definitely. He steals the show.
Yeah. I mean, she kind of holds her own, but yeah, it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, I mean, later on, when they initially start and they're just delivering their separate pieces, he totally outshines her. When they start getting down into like the call and response type stuff between the two of them, it gets a little better. It's very similar to a couple of the kind of R&B duets we talked about on the Laverne Baker episode, like "You're the Boss" and "Think Twice," and definitely has that sort of vibe. But Brooke Benton's voice is smooth as butter. I mean, he's great.
Oh, yeah.
You know you've got just what it takes because
It takes more you back in my spot again, honey.
I like your spot.
To stay away from you.
I can't stay away. Come on, let's do it.
It takes more than a lifetime, Daddy, to prove that I'll be true. Now it's you.
But it takes somebody special
Like me, baby.
to make me say I do.
And baby,
You got what it takes.
I mean, what else can you say about his vocal styling?
We need to do more. We need to talk more about Brooke Benton. I don't think that's a name, much like Roy Hamilton. I think that's a name that people aren't familiar with.
Right.
Is Brooke Benton.
They know his songs. I mean, this song's fairly popular.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
It's good
what do we
stuff.
got? Number 5.
Number 5, we got Sweet Nothings.
Brenda Lee.
Uh-huh, honey. All right. My baby whispers in my ear. Sweet nothing. He knows the things I like to hear. Sweet nothing. Things he wouldn't tell nobody else. Secret, baby, I keep them to myself. Sweet nothing. Sweet nothing.
Now, this is a track that you can also say is a fluff piece similar to O Dio Mio, but here's where we get the heart and emotion and that voice. Brenda Lee has a very powerful voice, and she shows it off well here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why she was called Little Miss Dynamite. She has a commanding voice and a very, like, a hard edge to it, too. Musically, I don't think this song is anything to write home about, but I mean, Brenda Lee carries it all by herself. And to me, to my ear, she has a lot of Patsy Cline in her as well.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
I like this. It's got kind of this gritty groove to it, but the vocal, it's not as, like, she's certainly strong, but she's got this nice sort of teasing, cutesy delivery.
She gets hard at some places.
Yes.
And then she goes back to her sweet, soft voice.
And musically, it's just around the corner anyway, but I can start to hear a little bit of what would eventually become the twist in this. Not as obvious as you would hear within, a year or two from other artists, but you could do the twist to this song. Absolutely.
Sitting in class, so trying to read my book. My baby, give me that special look. Sweet nothing. Sweet nothing.
Give me a sec. I'll get up and start doing the twist to it. So we go back to.
So before we go any further,
Okay.
We skipped trivia.
Oh crap! We did, or maybe I just didn't want to do it.
You know,
I mean, do you want to do it now or do you want to do it after?
Yeah, we made it through 10 to 4. So let's. I think we're gonna have more to say about the top 4 anyway. So let's just real quick run through our trivia.
Let's take a break to find out how.
Take a breather. So I've got some trivia questions for Gurdip, and you almost got out of it.
I totally forgot about it.
So, keeping with the theme of 1960, these questions are all themed around the year 1960.
Cool.
So, what song was recorded but not released by Elvis in the 1950s and then later became a top 10 hit for another performer in 1960?
Okay, wait a second. Okay, so this is a song that Elvis recorded
previously and originally.
Okay. Yeah.
Was not released by him.
Right.
Came out for someone else in 1960 and was a top 10 hit.
Okay. Okay, I don't know. What is it?
Okay, so Lonely Blue Boy / Danny by Conway Twitty was a top 10 hit.
Danny is my name. Oh, yes. My name should be trouble. My name should be woe. For trouble and heartache is all that I know.
Yes, lonely blue boy
is my name.
Okay, next one.
Wrong. I got it wrong, people.
You did. He got it wrong. All right. In the GI Blues song, Did You Ever, what color hair does the girl that the singer takes to the movies have? What color is her hair?
Brunette?
You're at a drive-in movie with a cute brunette. I'm counting on the kisses that you figure to get. Closer, closer, then she hollers, whoa. If you ever get one of them girls who just wants to watch the show.
She is a brunette.
Yes.
Good
I was just
call.
going through the lyrics. Good job.
Yeah.
I'm patting myself on the back.
Okay.
That good job for myself.
All right. Elvis's 1960 single, Are You Lonesome Tonight, was originally written in what year? I can either let you go ahead and try to answer it, or I can give you a multiple choice. It's your choice on this one in terms of which type of question you want this to be. If you're confident enough, you could probably get it right.
I know it's early 50s. I just don't know if it was 50, 51, or 52. It's in... What?
You are so wrong.
Am I wrong, really?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, do you want me to give you the
Sure,
choices?
give me the multiple choice.
It says, Are You Lonesome Tonight?
Wasn't it a hit in 1950?
When was it written, though?
Wait. The question is when it was written or when it was a hit?
When was it written?
Oh, okay. Then I didn't listen to you. I just jumped to conclusions like I normally do.
Okay. 1912, 1922, 1926, or 1935?
I'm going to say 1935 just because it's closer to when there was a hit record for it.
Nope.
And while I'm so lonely, I'm writing you only to see if you care for me still. Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart?
Does your memory stray to a bright summer day when I kissed you and called you sweetheart?
1926
was
when it was written. And yeah, there was a bunch of people covered Are You Lonesome Tonight, but it was written in 1926.
I always remember the 1950s, early 50s version.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's where your focus usually is that era. So, Okay, so the next question is another GI Blues themed question. The song Tonight Is So Right for Love was first recorded using the melody from the song Barcarola.
I love you more and more. We could fly right up to the sky, to the things we've been dreaming of, and how real they would seem. A midsummer night's dream. Can't you see that tonight? So right.
But European soundtracks had to have a re-recorded version since that melody was under copyright in some places in Europe. So, the second version of Tonight's So Right for Love, which there in the second version is called Tonight's All Right for Love, had its melody taken from what classical song?
I don't know. That's one of those trivias that I can't remember. I've read it. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I can't come up with the name.
Tales from the Vienna Woods.
This could be that magic kiss, that night of bliss we've waited for. Oh, we could fly right up to the sky. How real it all seems to me, a midsummer night dream to me. Can't you see? Can't you see that tonight? That tonight's so right for love.
I would have never have got that.
Come on. Read that. I talked about this in my Blue Suede review for GI Blues.
As I've said, I heard you discuss it. I've read it. But that kind of info, for some reason, never sticks in my brain.
Didn't stick in. I failed as a teacher.
If I had, would you have gotten it? You haven't thought about this in a long time, and I came at you with that question, would you have known it?
I probably would.
Really?
Because
Okay.
that was one that kind of stuck out to me. And I was
certain things stick out. So certain things stick in your brain, and certain things don't for some reason.
Yeah.
That was not one that did.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay, and then the last question is related to Flaming Star. The director of Elvis's 1960 film Flaming Star was later more well known for starting a film franchise in the 1970s. What franchise was that?
No, it wasn't James Bond. What was it? Film franchise. Where have I heard that name before? Don Siegel. Oh, wait. Was it the Dirty Harry series?
It was the Dirty Harry series.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of lost track myself. But Ian, this is a .44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Yes.
I
redeemed myself.
You did. You brought it back around.
Remember, I was just thinking 70s. What would have been? I think I asked too many hints.
You feel
Maybe that's
lucky,
why I
punk.
got it. I think I asked for too many hints. Probably why I got it.
That's okay.
Because if it was a TV series, I probably wouldn't have gotten it.
That's okay.
I didn't do that well. That was a sorry exhibition on my part.
You know what? After the last episode where you really crushed me and Ryan with your questions, I think we're equal now.
I put you guys over the hot coals.
So back to the top 4 for March 28th, 1960. What
I don't think I can do it. I'm too upset. Now, from Dirty Harry, we go to something very similar. Puppy Love by Paul Anka.
And they called it puppy love. Oh, I guess they'll never know how a young heart really feels and why I love her so.
this is a song
Very
that
fluff.
well, it's a little more than that though. Like when you look at it on its face value, if you just looked at the lyrics, the title, you would think that. But vocally, he's doing some stuff that's kind of interesting. And
Paul Anka vocally, I would never like disparage him. I think Paul Anka is great.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Steel Guitar, Glass of Wine?
Yes.
Excellent song.
Yep.
Excellent song. He's even borrowing a lot of Elvis's vocal mannerisms in that song. But yeah, so this is a classic early 60s song. If you were to get some kind of a compilation of early 60s, most likely this would be on it.
Yeah.
The songs of heartbreak and sorrow from a teenage point of view. I kind of like this song. Strangely, he wrote it apparently for our number 10 artist, Annette Funicello.
Mm-hmm.
As we said, she had a connection with Disney, and Walt Disney was apparently very overprotective of her. And I guess he kind of pushed her to break things off with him.
Yeah.
Which resulted in this song. Talk about teen drama. This could be like on a CW show.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about this recording is that it's not a straight performance. He's doing a interpretation of the emotional content. There are parts where it sounds like he's getting choked up and he's going to start crying.
He is.
You'll be back in my arms once again. Someone help me, please. Is the answer up above? How can I tell them this is not a puppy love?
Which is not something that you heard a lot from male performers at this point in rock and roll and
well, he had
pop
to make all the teenage girls swoon. They're like, "Oh my God, he's about to cry."
So didn't
Michael Jackson do that when there's that song in the '70s? She's out of my life.
Yeah, she's out of my life. Yeah,
she's like he's almost about to cry.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's my interpretation of the teenage girls.
That's a wonderful impression of a teenage girl.
Thank you. I try every day.
But like Paul Anka, he is kind of, for me, he sticks out as like a teen idol done right. Mm-hmm. As opposed to someone we're about to get to a couple spaces from now. But we'll get there.
Fabian? Is that who you're talking about?
No, we'll get there.
Okay. All right. Anyway, do you like the song? You never said.
I do. No, I do actually quite like the song. It's kind of catchy.
It is catchy,
despite despite the content. It holds up very well even today. Even though it is like some of these other ones, kind of very much a product of its time.
Anka really sells it. His voice.
He
sells
does.
The song.
Yeah, absolutely.
With someone else's hands, it would have been a total write-off, I think.
Yeah, like if Wayne Newton had done this, it just would not be the same.
You don't like Wayne Newton?
No, I like Wayne Newton. I just don't. Okay. I think he would have played it way too straight.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. We've never brought up Wayne Newton, have we?
I mean, just barely. A couple times.
Because he was part of that whole Vegas thing.
Yeah.
Too, later.
Yep. Yep.
Anyway.
Mr. Las Vegas.
Mr. Las Vegas, yeah. Number 3. Jim Reeves. He'll have to go.
Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone. Let's pretend that we're together all alone. I'll tell the man to turn the jukebox way down low. And you can tell your friend there with you, he'll have to go.
One that Elvis fans will be familiar with. Even if you're not familiar with Jim Reeves' version, Elvis recorded this in 1976.
I think Elvis was a fan because they recorded a number of the same songs.
Yes.
I Love You Because, Welcome to My World, Take My Hand, Precious Lord.
Yeah. Elvis.
Yeah.
Even in my notes for this one, I was like, Elvis definitely took some influence from Jim Reeves in terms of vocal delivery. He is pure country crooner.
I'm surprised this made the Billboard top 10 though. I mean, I like his voice.
Yeah.
And to me, he gives me that same type of feelings as like a Marty Robbins voice does.
Yes.
It's like that nice, like, thick, like commanding voice.
Yeah, kind of a throaty, kind of bass baritone type vocal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if his song comes on, you're about to get up, his voice slaps you across the face and tells you to sit down and listen up.
And so what do you think of the concept of the song? The whole idea that they're on, it's a guy that's on the phone with his, lover, girlfriend, wife, whatever, and then like he hears someone else in the background, another man.
It's unique. It's different.
Yeah.
Than a typical song. You get a lot of substance, no?
Yeah, there's a lot of subtext there. You kind of have to read between the lines of. I mean, obviously he says, he'll tell your friend he'll have to go, but the story that's being told is, maybe there's some infidelity going on.
Yeah.
And so there's, for a relatively simple country tune in terms of the melody, there's definitely some more emotional content to work with. And Elvis took definitely some influence on that.
We'll tell a man that turned the jukebox way down low. You can tell your friend there with you, he'll have to go.
And one thing I thought was interesting, I was looking at the players on this song. Most of the people on this song actually played with Elvis at different points in his career.
They were both on the Louisiana Hayride together.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah. But even I in terms of the session musicians that are on this recording, Bob Moore's on bass, Hank Garland's on guitar, Buddy Harman on bass as well, Floyd Kramer on piano. I mean, this is
like Elvis's band almost.
Yeah, pretty close, or what would become Elvis's band. So yeah, no, this is a song that for me holds up, but I like this kind of country pop of the early '60s.
I could just picture Elvis breaking into that session, slamming the door open, saying, "He'll have to go," and the band just says, "Yeah."
You can't say the words I want to hear while you're with another man. Do you want me answer yes or no? Darling, I will understand. Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone.
Number 2, I think this is the one you were talking about. Wild One, Bobby Rydell.
Every day, but someday it's gonna be me, and only me. Oh, wild one, I'll make you settle down. Wild one, I'll clip your wings and things. You got the lips that are mad about time. I got the lips that are knock you out. Come on, wild one, be wild about me. Oh yeah, baby.
Let him have it.
This is a creepy song.
You think?
It is.
I don't know. I think out of all the songs, this is really the only traditional rock and roll song on the list.
Okay, here's the thing, though. This is a formulated song for a teen idol that's supposed to look like Elvis and appeal to teenagers and be a teen idol. This teen idol done wrong. Because here's the thing. Rock and roll is about being wild. It's about being crazy, experiencing new things. The point of this song is, I'm going to tame you, I'm going to make you settle down, and I'm going to clip your wings. Like, literally cut your wings so you can't fly away from me. It's going to be only me. Like, this is creepy. And this is the state of... So this is where I'm going to get off in the tangent that I warned you about here. When people talk about Elvis coming back in the 60s and not doing rock and roll, This is the that was number 2 on the Billboard charts the week before Stuck on You drops. Number 2, which means this is not an unpopular song at this point.
No.
Rock and roll has been gimped and subverted with a message about settling down and ending your wild ways. That's bull.
Why?
Because that has nothing to do with the spirit of rock and roll.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, it is just a song. You're taking it too literally.
I am taking this literally because here's the thing. It's twisted. I'm going to clip your wings.
Way too literal.
I am taking this way too literal.
Because he sings it well. I like Bobby Rydell's voice. I think he has a great voice.
I think he's trying to be something he's not. He's
trying
to be a rock
be
and roller.
Case. I know he kind of shifts stuff too.
He's only marginally. He's a step above Pat Boone.
No.
Yes.
He does a lot of that Bobby Darin stuff too. I don't know. I don't know what your problem is, Bobby, right
but
now.
But my thing with this is when you look at the context of where Elvis is coming back in, and obviously we'll talk about the number 1 second song in a moment.
Directing your anger at Bobby Rydell when your anger should be directed at people who said Elvis should have been doing rock and roll.
Well, that's it. That's my thing. Is that but
Bobby Rydell did.
It goes both ways. It goes both ways. So people have to remember when they're talking about Elvis should have come back and done rock and roll and just blah 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 blah. When you listen to the other 9 songs that we've talked about on this list, where does a song like Jailhouse Rock or even something like Maybelline or That's Alright Mama or Treat Me Nice or Too Much, where does that fit in here? Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel, forget about it. The cultural landscape had shifted. Rock and roll had been left behind.
I don't think it had left behind. I think it was evolved. It changed based on one thing is people's taste. Another thing is because, as you said, musical directors, they weren't DJs anymore.
Right.
They played stuff that they thought would be better for people, and more acceptable,
more conservative, more like little. This is where
it is more conservative.
This is where my frustration with the song is that it is telling young women who, at earlier points in rock and roll, were being told like, let's go have a party. Let's have fun. Let's go be wild. That's the spirit of rock and roll. And now they're subverting that with a rock and roll sound-alike song with a message of, I'm going to make you settle down with me. Not, you're going to come to love me and we'll settle down together. It is, he literally says, I'm going to make you settle down. Make you.
You got a new baby every day, but someday it's gonna be me, and only me. Oh, wild one, I'll make you a settle down. Settle down. Ah, wild one, I'll clip your wings and things. You got the lips that are mad about that. I got the lips that'll knock you out. Come on, wild one, be wild about me. Oh, yeah.
I think you're taking this one song too literal because this is just one song out of how many?
But this is,
and there's a lot of other songs that have nothing to do with that.
It's symbolic of the problems inherent with this era of rock and roll history.
Maybe. I mean, there's also other songs out there that were more traditional rock stuff.
Certainly.
I mean, yeah.
Certainly. But even these other songs, stuff like Puppy Love and stuff like, Sweet Nothings, it's
right.
very tame. It's, O Dio Mio, she's pleading to God to make this guy care about her. This is not rebellious. This is not...
No, it's not rebellious.
Edgy.
But as we talked about at the beginning of the show, rock was changing into this. Like I said, those top songs of 59, any of those songs could have been on this list. Chipmunk song, Venus, Come Softly, Happy Organ, Mr. Blue. Any of those songs could be called fluff as well.
So,
just as much as Wild One.
Absolutely. So when you hear someone say Elvis should have been doing rock and roll when he came back from the army, tell them to look at what music was out there and was popular at that time, because there's no place for the Elvis Presley of 1957 in 1960. It just would not
There was
work.
glimpses of it, but I mean, obviously Elvis wasn't dumb. The Colonel wasn't dumb. He could see what was selling. So obviously you got to shift, right? You got to evolve.
Absolutely.
Change with what's popular. And he didn't change, whereas he did stuff like O Dio Mayo or whatever that BS was. He did his own spin on it based on his roots and what he was familiar with.
Right.
It was like his own version of this fluff. And you got stuff like Stuck on You and what have you, which is a song which a lot of people in someone else's hands would be just a fluff song.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, it turned out great with Elvis doing it. And as we were saying, music kept evolving. And when the Beatles came, they weren't really doing 50s rock and roll. They were doing their own type of rock and roll, which was different. And Elvis, who's to say Elvis wouldn't have changed as well? But he was bogged down with movie contracts. He had to fulfill those obligations.
Even if you leave out the movie, you look at the music that he was doing on the side in his, quote unquote secular,
which was far and few between where he could do it. Obligations. He had to put out songs for soundtracks. Yeah. When he did get the chance to do non-soundtrack songs, one, he was pushed to quickly do them because they didn't seem to sell as well. But he was rushed to do them, and he wasn't given great material also. So what he got, he would turn into gold, like Devil in Disguise. With someone else, it would have been just whatever, a passing song. But he made it something special.
Absolutely.
People don't think of these nuances when they say, "Oh, Elvis died when he went to the army." That's like a statement that you always hear. It's like once he came back, he was nothing. He was shell.
People take that John Lennon quote as gospel, which is why I keep bringing it up because I keep seeing it spread online. Like that was some like Lennon had any place to speak in terms of people
give him way too much credit. I think
absolutely. So,
whereas I would give McCartney more credit for what the Beatles were doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So leading into our number one
tangent over.
Number one
rant over.
And this is the culmination of everything that we've been talking about this song. This song was number one for 9 weeks. This is not your just kind of like flash in the pan hit song, like a one-hit wonder. This was on the charts at number one for 9 weeks.
Long time.
Before Elvis with Stuck on You bumped it from number one. What is it?
Theme from Summer Place.
Theme from a Summer Place by Percy Faith. It's an instrumental, easy listening tune. Which is great. By the way, that's the thing. I actually really like this.
I like this. It's
sweeping.
Everyone must have heard this track.
No, it's great. Point. You can lose yourself in the moment of it.
Have you seen the film?
I have never seen the film.
So the gist of it is two teen lovers from different social classes who separated because of their families. They get back together years apart and deal with the love affair of their own children from previous relationships. Which sounds interesting. Maybe I'll check it out one day. But as you said, I always like this track. It's really calming, pleasant to listen to. I don't know if it should have been number one. I'm wondering. It's strange. Instrumental tracks used to get to like high charting positions back then. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, not so much, do they?
Never.
It's very strange, isn't it? That shift, cultural shift.
Mm-hmm.
But Percy Faith, fellow Canadian, was big on the easy listening mood music format type things.
And just as this was actually a cover of that theme, because the theme originally was composed by Max Steiner, film composer Max Steiner.
From King Kong.
Yes.
Love that.
Yep. No, and I've heard this many times before. I like it. I get it. I get the appeal. It sways. I mean, this is something that I could, move around the ballroom to, lose yourself in the moment of it. It's very sweeping and grand and yet very tender. So it's a good song, but remember that this was #1 for 9 weeks before Elvis is Stuck on You was the one song to knock it off. Like, Bobby Rydell couldn't do it. Jim Reeves couldn't do it. Many of these other artists that we talked about came very close.
Annette Funicello didn't have the chops to do it?
No, she didn't.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
They couldn't knock Percy Faith out, and Elvis did.
You can shake an apple off an apple tree. Shake a sugar, but you'll never shake me. No sirree. I'm gonna stick like glue. Stick because I'm stuck on you.
Honestly, I could make the argument that, or one could make the argument that Elvis coming back from the army was the beginnings of a reawakening for rock and roll that would culminate in the Beatles coming back. It was not like the Beatles just rocked up one day and everything was different. There were steps leading back to them laying the groundwork, the context for, maybe we'll have to do an episode where we talk about the week that the Beatles, rocked up and where Elvis was.
Yes.
Because I think it would surprise people how much rock and roll was starting to come back around, and it had shifted again. Like we talked about, music evolves, and you had guys, like Sam Cooke, is still not a presence yet, but would be very quickly. So yeah, I hope people are finding this enlightening or interesting, because this is one thing that just, it's always stuck with me, and that's why I'm glad that we had picked this week to talk about in Elvis history, because I think this era of music in between, not a lot is well known about that period in the way that people should. People oftentimes, and I think Ryan was the one that talked about it, but sometimes it seems like people just think that the Beatles showed up on the Ed Sullivan Show and that was when rock and roll started.
Yeah, it's like this forgotten period. It's like there's Elvis, and then the Beatles hit, and then that's it.
Yeah, and
don't forget about this.
Yeah, and it's not like the I mean, we've talked, some of these songs are excellent, but there's this transitionary phase that most people just don't talk about and dig into. No. So yeah, I'm glad we dug into this.
It's funny, you would think this is like a non-Elvis week, non-Elvis topic, but Elvis comes up a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your take on this week and all of the songs collectively? And
to me, it solidified what I always knew is rock changed quite a bit. A lot of the early '60s stuff was more fluffier, but there was like treasure in there. You had to dig a little bit.
Sure,
but there's a lot of songs in that from that time period, from 1960 till the Beatles hit, when people think that rock was nothing. There's a lot of great music that came out.
You start looking at, some of the songs that would come out even between 1960 and 1964. You like things that you think of as 50 songs, you find out aren't, like Runaway, Del Shannon's Runaway.
A lot of the songs that totally brings up a great point. A lot of the songs that came from this period I thought were 50s hits. Yeah. And I was surprised. Like, for example, one song, I don't know if you know Denise by Randy and the Rainbows.
Yeah.
A doo-wop song. That was in the 60s. Yeah. I always thought it was a 50s song.
Dion's The Wanderer. Hit the Road Jack by Ray Charles, which is a classic rock and roll song.
Run Around Sue, sorry.
Yeah, Run Around Sue. Yeah, absolutely. And these are...
Blue Moon by the Marcells.
Like I said, I think Elvis coming back with Stuck on You, we could here on TCBcast. Maybe this is the first time we're doing it. We're officially saying Elvis coming back from the Army started paving the way for the Beatles to come and in 1964 just bring rock and roll in a big, big way, in their own unique way.
I can totally see that. He brought some of that edge back. Not the same edge, but a new edge. Everything mixed, an amalgamation of what was there mixed with Elvis's style. And it was like a new version of rock and roll, essentially.
Absolutely.
Until the Beatles hit, and then they changed. They brought their own spin to rock and roll, and it kept evolving.
Yep.
The Rolling Stones and, who have you. That's what music does. It evolves.
It does.
Keeps evolving, changes. If you don't change with it, you get left back.
Exactly.
What happened to when Vince Everett said that?
Music changes every 6 months. You got to change with it.
What was his name?
True.
Hunk didn't listen.
Yeah.
A lot of people are stuck singing "One More Day," getting left behind.
I do like that song though. "One More Day." That might be one of my songs of the week someday.
One more day. Dun, dun, dun.
One day older and nearer to my Lord. One more day.
What was that? The musical director. Go straight to Jailhouse Rock, cut the country number, or whatever that guy said.
Literally in the middle of the song. Like, let's not even bother filming him and just, cut it later. No.
Just... And he didn't even just say it in the sound booth. He projected it so that Hunk could hear it.
Yeah. Well, it's not just Hunk. Like, there's a whole bunch of session musicians there playing with them that they hired.
I was playing my heart out for this country bumpkin. And because of him, I get cut too.
Jailhouse Rock cracks me up. The details in that film just don't make sense at all.
That film is great. There's so much little stuff that you get, nuances you pick up from little
really
things.
Gonzville.
Yeah. We got to do Jailhouse.
Jailhouse Rock is the most memeable Elvis movie.
It is. You can totally meme it. All right. Well, let's get to the song of the week.
Let's make it like the first chorus all the way through.
Since my baby left me, will I find you a place to dwell? Well, this day I got a gal that I love so.
We can go on together with suspicious minds.
I'm all shook up.
Well, that's different. That's a pop song now, Nilly.
Okay, song of the week. I went last week, so I guess I'm up.
You're up at bat. Don't miss.
Still keeping in the 1960 theme. Fame and Fortune.
Fame and fortune, how empty they can be. But when I hold you in my arms, that's a heaven to me. Who cares for fame?
Oh, beautiful song.
Believe it or not,
Excellent.
we have never talked about this as the song of the week.
I would have gotten to this.
You brought up Stuck on You once as your song of the week, the A-side. But I'm tackling the B-side. So I'm very much in the vein
this
of...
is a doo-wop song, essentially. You know that, right?
No, it's totally a doo-wop song. That's why I wanted to pull it out from underneath you. Exactly. I'm stealing your stick.
Okay, anyway.
So Elvis's version was recorded March 21st, 1960, RCA Studio B in Nashville, Tennessee. This is the very first session Elvis went to after coming back from the Army. The song was written by Fred Wise and Ben Wiseman. Ben Wiseman, obviously, we've talked about multiple times on the show. He was one of the most prolific songwriters for Elvis. Not only just Elvis's movies, but also many non-movie songs like Fame and Fortune. I think he had 57, 58, something like that Elvis recorded. And Elvis really dug his teeth into a lot of Ben's songs. And this is one of them. This is the second ballad Elvis recorded coming back. He had previously done, at that session, he had also done Make Me Know It, Soldier Boy, Stuck on You, and then he did Fame and Fortune. Fame and Fortune. What's your take on Fame and Fortune? Aside, obviously, it's a doo-wop song, and you love it. But
Well, what else could my take
where
be?
did you first hear it?
That's an interesting question. Where would I have heard this? This wasn't on 50 Years, 50 Hits. Was it on This Is Elvis? No, I don't think it was on that either. I don't know where I would have. Was this on any of the Golden Records?
Yeah, Volume 3.
That's probably where I heard it first.
Along with Stuck on You.
This is probably where that must be where I heard it. I always love this song. But as I listened to it more and more, I was like, this is really good. And then I heard an alternate take on the, what are those called now? They're not Essential Elvis. What are those ones that great Legendary Performance?
Yes, Legendary Performer.
There was an alternate take on one of them, Volume 3 or Volume 4. And that one sounded better to my ear, but I don't know why. Maybe because that opening note in the studio one is really...
that was the one that you're thinking of. It was Take 2, which featured on A Legendary Performer Volume 3.
Yeah, his voice is not as heavy in that opening note. And I always thought that his voice was too heavy on the studio. But obviously, I got around it. And it's a Beatles song. I don't know what else I can say. It's a doo-wop song. I like that in some parts, Elvis actually sings some of the backup vocals too.
Yeah.
Along with when he's like doo 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 or boo doo doo doo. I love that when you get so into it that you start singing the background vocals.
Yeah.
Who cares for fame and fortune? Well, they're only passing things. But the touch of your lips on mine makes me feel like a king. Your kind of love is a crayon.
I think when they show those him practicing in This Is Elvis, I can't remember what song he's singing, but he starts singing the background vocals and he jokes and says, "Oh, I used to do all the background vocals as well."
Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing that let me backtrack
wow, that
a bit
was
on
rambling, wasn't it? I went from
no, it was great.
from different points.
So one thing.
When did you hear it first? Before you?
Oh, good Lord! I don't even know when I first heard it. All I remember was when I heard it. I think I had just heard it online. I think it was just whether that was a real audio or an MP3 or something. I think I just found it online. It was not in the context of a larger album. I didn't get Elvis's back until much, much later. I never had Elvis's Golden Records Volume 3 until very recently.
I never had Elvis's back for a while either because the album was expensive and it wasn't available on tape.
Yeah.
I think I got it on CD in the 90s.
So the thing about this song that always struck me was the vocal performance and the lyrical content. Because it's a very interesting song. Because he's talking about, essentially how, fame and fortune has, been a part of his life, and but how empty they can be. But in spite of that, he finds his, the love that is obviously he's singing it to that's off camera or whatever. That to him is way more important than any of the actual treasures that he's gotten in his life. And to hear someone like Elvis and to understand that, and to say something like that, humanizes him in a way.
Yes.
And one thing with that Take 2 that you might not have realized but unconsciously picked up on, the first 4 takes are actually in a totally different key.
Yeah.
So he is actually performing it higher pitched. In those earlier takes, take 1, 2, 3, and 4. But the only complete takes are takes 1 and 2. Take Take 2 is available on the Elvis is Back FTD. Take 1 is available on the Elvis's Golden Records Volume 3 FTD. Both are fascinating listens to how they made changes to what would later become... There were like 15 takes, and the master was a splice between 14 and 15. But it's just fascinating to hear how much the arrangement changed from those early couple takes. Like, I mean, even the Jordanaires, they don't have it all together on the first couple takes. Right. And you can hear them experimenting with, well, are we going to come in here? Are we going to come in there? There's even like the Elvis's vocal, like you mentioned at the beginning, is much lighter, and he doesn't come in as strong and as confident on it. But there's also one of the Jordanaires. Which one was the bass singer? I forget.
Neil Matthews?
Maybe.
One of them.
But very prominently, before Elvis even starts singing, sings a bit, which obviously didn't make it into the final arrangement of the song.
LZWB 0084, take 2.
How empty they can be.
And what you hear as you go through the takes, because most of the takes are on Elvis's Golden Records Volume 3. There's a handful of them on the Elvis's Back FTD. But you hear the progression of them trying to feel out how to do this song in a way that does it justice. Right. The earlier takes are much less polished. Elvis, with it being in a higher key, he's straining a little more for those higher notes, which actually gives him almost a younger sound in his voice.
Your kind of love is a treasure I hold. It's so much greater than silver or gold. I know that
But then when on take 5 they drop it into the lower key, Elvis immediately within take 5 starts sounding more comfortable, more natural. He's not stretching himself. It starts coming. I mean, he starts crooning. He starts dropping in kind of these little sensual, like sounds, like in the middle of words, like but the touch of your lips on mine. But there's almost like a breath before he says touch, but not like a full breath. It's just like that. It's hard to describe. It's an intangible thing that he could do vocally.
right. But the touch of your lips on mine makes me feel like a king. Your kind of love is a treasure I hold. It's so much greater than silver or gold.
And I mean, some of the alternate takes are just partial. It's just, it could have been any number of little things, whether it was a piano note that Floyd Kramer got wrong. Maybe they just didn't have it all together. There's one that just gets cut off, and then the engineer says, sorry. But once you get later into the sessions, take 10 is one in particular where you can hear him start really digging into the backing vocals. And you start hearing him do the wah-oos and the all joining in on the Jordanaires, and you can hear it very prominently on those FTDs, less so on the master, obviously. But it's really neat to hear him to start to really dig into that song, even when he's not, quote-unquote, supposed to be singing. Yeah. And between the 50s and 1960, the contrast of him as a ballad singer is huge. He doesn't have any of those kind of affectations that we've talked about before, where he used to have, you know, a whole lot of vibrato in his voice, and he used to sing it very over the top. And compare it with, you know, something like the remake of That's When Your Heartaches Begins, or Young and Beautiful, where he's really pushing it in the 50s. This is so much more smooth, it's pure, it's confident, and on top of that, it's a freaking doo-wop track.
Yeah,
And
I mean, that's always a plus.
If you find your sweetheart in the arms of a friend, that's when your heartaches begin. Who cares for fame and fortune? They're only passing things, but the touch of your lips on mine makes me feel like a king.
There haven't been a whole lot of notable covers over the years. There were some, obviously, like some ETAs, some minor indie acts, nothing worth mentioning. Right. But the one other performance that is worth mentioning, and we've talked about before, is the version from the Frank Sinatra Timex show, Welcome Home Elvis, the live version. What's your take on that version?
Yeah, as I said, yeah, I like the way he performs it. He doesn't sing it as high. And it's kind of faster, I think.
It is. It is taken ever so slightly faster, which gives it.
I do like that.
Which gives it sort of a rock and roll edge to it. It's again, it's those intangibles of like just a little bit makes a huge difference in terms of, you know, how hard are the drums hitting? How is, because Elvis is playing with a live audience for the first time in however long,
and we talked about it last week when he performed "Love Me Tender."
Yeah.
The live versus the studio. The live one, he seems more relaxed, and he gives it more little inflections here and there. He doesn't just sing it straight. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying Fame and Fortune is like that, but the live performance seems a bit more energetic.
Fame and fortune, how empty they can be. When I hold you in my arms, that's heaven to me. Who cares for fame?
But I mean, I like both versions. So
no, and that's not to say that the studio version is lethargic in any way at all.
No,
it's certainly not. And it was quite a big success as well. Obviously, Stuck on You was the A side; it was a much bigger hit. But Fame and Fortune on its own went to number 17 on the Hot 100, so it was a top 20 hit as well.
Nice.
So I really wanted to highlight this one because, especially comparing to, so here was the thing about the song that struck me the most, because I was listening to the theme from A Summer Place, and I can hear very much, I don't know if it was intentional on Fred Wise and Ben Wiseman's part, but tonally, Fame and Fortune is very similar to Theme from A Summer Place.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
I never thought about those two.
Yeah, I mean, and melodically, it's not exactly the same, and clearly there's much more of a traditional doo-wop influence on Fame and Fortune, but in terms of the instrumentation, the tempo, the key that it's in, it has a very similar vibe.
Right.
And so, again, like you said, Elvis coming in and putting his own spin on what was already out there. And making it his own and giving it just that little bit of edge, that little bit of sensuality that he brought to all of his recordings. Really pushed it over the top and made it something special. So I want people to go back and revisit Fame and Fortune because it's a great song.
know that your love me brings fame and fortune my way.
I like the fact that we like doing this whole show. We've highlighted the fact that Elvis was a big time doo-wop artist.
Yeah.
And nobody ever credits him as such.
No.
I've never read anywhere really where they say he's like a doo-wop artist.
No, everyone always focuses on the rock and roll, and that's
rock and
not
roll,
all
gospel,
there is.
country. That's the main things people always talk about.
He was a doo-wop artist.
Yeah.
Gurdip, that's your mission on this show. We're going to
That
convince
is.
people.
That's my mission.
And I'm
show
going to
people.
Yep.
And it's not even like a one-off. He recorded a lot of doo-wops. Anyway.
And throughout his life, I mean, stuff like Pledging My Love and
he kept going back to doo-wop. I mean, why wouldn't he? Okay, so
your song of the week.
Excellent pick, by the way. I mean, you know
Thank
how
you.
much I like that song.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to sell it to me. That would have been one of my songs if you hadn't picked it.
Yeah.
So my song of the week is a song that I had already picked, and then you came out with the topic of last week, and I was like, oh crap. I got to come up with a new song. So my song was Anyplace is Paradise.
Whether I'm riding down a highway or walking down a street, it makes no difference, baby doll, but every chance to meet, each time I hold your little hand, it makes me feel so very nice. Any place is paradise when I'm with you.
Ah, good one.
Yes. That's when you were like, let's do the 56 session in September. I was like, crap.
Damn
anyway, I was like, nuts. So written by Joe Thomas. Joe was a jazz saxophonist, a composer, songwriter. He was also a vocal coach working with such groups as the Ravens and the Beavers. A lot of his songs he co-wrote with Howard Biggs, including I'm Gonna Sit Right Down and Cry Over You, by your boy, Roy
Hamilton. Yeah.
So this was recorded on Sunday, September 2nd, 1956 at Radio Recorders in Hollywood. Now, I've already talked about how much I like the song. You have as well, but let me just reiterate it. What a song. It's like a jazzy, bluesy number that I think is very, very underrated. Elvis sounds great on this. He displays his various vocal stylings, including the laid back, cool, excellent delivery. And then we got Gordon Stoker on piano, and he's top notch on that piano break. I really like everything about this song. I mean, it's very fun, catchy. I'm not sure why it wasn't a single, like I said before. Mm-hmm. Just so everybody knows, what do you think about this song?
Well, I mean, we kind of already talked about it a couple episodes ago. But
for those who skipped last week because they don't like Ryan, tell us what you thought about this song.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
You know he listens to the show when he's not on it, right?
Ryan, they read that Ryan's on the episode. They're like, nope, not going to do it.
No,
I'm just kidding.
You're absolutely right, and in the context of the 56 sessions, the September 56 sessions, Elvis is bringing something to this song that he doesn't really like, because this is kind of a lyrically complex song too. That was one thing that stuck out to me, especially when you compare something like Ready Teddy, or even some of the traditional kind of doo-woppy 50s. Type songs like First in Line and
this had doo-wop elements to it. It had a number of different styles.
But this is, I mean, every single verse is different, and there's not really a chorus to this, other than like at the end of every verse he says the lines, any place is paradise when I'm with you. But like you said, I mean, the instrumental break is spectacular, but I think people should go back through and, like, if you haven't listened to Any Place is Paradise in a while, like, pull up the lyrics on Google and just read the lyrics along with the song, because it's kind of interesting.
It's a great song.
How, compared to the other songs that Elvis is putting out this time, how much is there content-wise, and how much he's doing with it. Like, he's doing a little bit of his crooner, but he's doing a little bit of his kind of poppy, don't be cruel type vocal.
Give me a cave up in the mountains or a shack down by the sea, and I will be in heaven, honey, if you're there with me. Where I kiss your tender lips, see the love light in your eyes. Any place is paradise when I'm with you.
Yeah, this is you nailed it when you said I don't know why this wasn't a single, because I think this could have been single material. Problem was with this was that this was Elvis 56, and there was so much other great stuff. If Elvis could have had 3 1956s right in a row, we would have been cool with that. It's a shame that he had to move on to 1957.
Right. Well, if there was 3 1956s, both you and I will be much younger.
It's true.
Well, maybe not younger, but 3 years younger.
Yeah.
I'd be in my 30s still. Oh, that's so nice.
And this is the one when we were talking last week. This is the one with not only the piano break, but this has different instrumental solos, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like Bill Black gets a solo. That was the thing. This song also is very reminiscent of Heartbreak Hotel. I meant to mention that on the other episode, and I forgot to mention that.
I never put 2 and 2 together, but you're totally right.
Because people like to say, like, Heartbreak Hotel, oh, there's nothing else in Elvis's catalog that sounds at all like this. And I'm like, Anyplace is Paradise is pretty darn close.
Well, if your baby leaves you or sitting in a park, or just take a walk down lonely street to Heartbreak Hotel, where I can take you in my arms and look into your pretty eyes. Any place is paradise when I'm with you.
It is. I never thought about it that way.
It's not as, I mean, lyrically, it's not as creepy as Heartbreak Hotel. Oh. But, I mean, in terms of the way that it's performed, the way the band performs it, Elvis's vocal stylings, even the reverb on his voice is very similar.
Yeah. So they did 22 takes, with 22 being the master, as we talked about last week.
Yeah, we got none of them.
None of them. So, unfortunately, we'll probably never hear any of the other takes. The song was released on the Elvis LP, released on October 19th, 1956. It reached number 1 on the Billboard charts.
The EP?
Yeah, the EP. The LP. As for
the EP LP.
Yeah. As for other versions, there really is none until 2006. There's one by Daryl Higheim.
Okay.
Who is like one of those throwback artists, kind of like Brian Setzer, who does modern take on rockabilly. His version is pretty faithful to Elvis's, and he sounds pretty good vocally. He's really mimicking Elvis, and he's not doing that bad of a job. So it does sound good. It sounds like Elvis's. I mean, obviously he doesn't sound like Elvis, but he mimics that style and then updates the music essentially.
Whether you're hiding down a highway or walking down a street, it makes no difference, baby doll. With every chance to meet, each time I hold your little hand, makes me feel so very nice. And it places paradise when I'm with you.
And then there's also a version by British blues rock guitarist Mick Clark from 2017. This one's very rock heavy, lots of guitar riffs. A lot of breaks, a lot of guitar riffing breaks, but it's good as well. Vocally, it's nothing great, and he actually sounds kind of processed, his voice, but it's still good.
Give me a cave up in the mountain or a shack down by the sea. Well, it's gonna be so heavy if you're there with me. Don't have to tell me how you're feeling. I can see it in your eye. And a place is paradise when I'm with you.
So those are the only 2 really I could find that were standouts besides, the tribute artist stuff. So And that's my song of the week. Kind of a.
Would you say Anyplace's Paradise is a deep cut?
I think it would be.
Considering the 50s are so well known, but this one is one that I almost never hear about.
No. But when you hear it, you're like, wow, this is a great song.
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't it get played more often?
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, you were going to say.
I can't remember now. But that was my song of the week.
Wonderful. Great pick.
Thank you.
All the time, maybe the jungle would be fine. Any place is paradise when I'm with you.
So, how can people hear us?
They can, if they want to reach out to us, we're at tcbcast@gmail.com. We're out on Facebook and Twitter, at TCBcast on Twitter. If you want to listen to more of us, we're out on iTunes, Podbean, Libsyn, tcbcast.libsyn.com. Feel free to drop a review on iTunes if that's a thing that you feel like you would like to do. Support the show, not because we like hearing specifically that you think the show is good or bad or whatever, but it does help with the ratings if we have more reviews on there. Thank you, everyone who continues to tune into the show. We hope that you're learning something new every time you come onto the show, because we certainly are. I don't know about you,
learn
Gurdip.
every week. Yeah, totally.
We believe it or not, don't know actually as much about Elvis as we like to pretend we do, which is why we're doing this. We want to learn. Which is
why I fail at trivia time and time again.
Exactly. Same here. But that's the idea. I mean, you get to play along with us, and maybe you know some of the answers that we didn't.
Yeah. Yep. So, it's a hot summer in Florida, and as Brooke Benton would say,
it's a rainy night in Georgia.
Good night.
You've been listening to the TCBcast, an unofficial Elvis fan podcast.
Justin Gosman and Gurdip Ladhar have left the building.
Someone must have stomped on his head with those blue suede shoes.
Thank you and good night.